If you're using crayons to add color to your candles, I want you to stop right now because today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 different methods that you can use to dye your candles along with the best practices that you should be using in the future. If you're new here, let me welcome you as the owner of Serene Aromas, where we talk about candles and self-care. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're interested in those topics. Now let's get into it. If you're new to candle making, you may wonder how exactly you can add colors to your candles so they don't look bland and white and maybe boring. As a beginner, it may be tempting to just reach for the nearest thing, which is a crayon. Let me be the first one to tell you that crayons are absolutely the worst thing you could use to add colors to your candles. Yes, they're cheap, easy to use, and accessible, but they also have wax fillers and pigments in them that can clog your wicks, which is going to affect your candle when it's burning. You're gonna experience a lot of tunneling. Your wicks may not even stay lit because the flame is being suffocated by the crayons you've added into your wax. So what do you do if you want vibrant and beautiful colors within your candles? Well, you have 3 different options, and one of my favorite ones is gonna be liquid candle dye. You can easily find these on Amazon or your local candle shop, and they're super beginner friendly, and a little small amount goes a long way. My favorite thing about liquid candle dye is that I can control how many drops I add into my candle, so I know exactly how much I would need for future reference, which makes it easier when I'm working with whatever type of candle wax that I have. I also find that liquid candle dye is the easiest to work with because the colors are super vibrant, concentrated, which means I need less when I'm trying to achieve a specific color. I can also add this throughout any part of the process when making candles. So if I'm making marble candle, I can add it after the candle has hardened or even before when the candle wax is still melted. I also want you to keep in mind that liquid candle dye can be used for any type of wax and blends in seamlessly compared to other candle dyes that I've used. It is also super cheap and you can customize any of the colors together to make a unique color. So if you're looking to add a little bit of oomph into your candles, I definitely recommend that you use liquid candle dye. But you also have the option of using dye chips or blocks. These are going to be solid pieces of color that melts right into your wax. Those are great if you're making the same candle over and over again. But what I find a little bit tricky about those dye chips and even the blocks is that they're not as easily measured compared to the liquid candle dye that I mentioned before. With the chips or even the blocks, you kind of have to break pieces away and pretty much play a guessing game as to how much is going to give you a specific color. Now, of course, you can customize these as well by melting different colors together to get a specific shade, but you have to keep in mind that when you're working with the dye chips or blocks, you have to use them when your candle wax is melted because you have to mix them in really well with the candle wax so the temperature of the wax can melt the chips. You can also find these on Amazon and you can use them throughout a bunch of different types of waxes. But I would not recommend that you start with the dye chips because they're a little bit trickier to work with. This leads me to the 3rd method, which is gonna be mica powder. This is a gorgeous pigmentation that adds shimmer and a little bit of swirl into the candles, but you have to keep in mind that it does not dissolve in candle wax. So although it can look pretty within the candles when they're lit, it can also cause some issues like a clogged wick. And if it's not mixed in well within the candle wax, you may also experience some sinkholes and uneven burns. This essentially happens because mica powder is not oil soluble, which means it will literally just settle at the bottom of whatever it was mixed in with. But like I said, it does look pretty and add a luxurious feel to any candles because of the extra depth and visual appeal. I've worked with mica powder a lot for my personal candles just because I love that look. But as a beginner, it would be extremely frustrating for you to use mica powder in any candles that you make because the chances are your candle wick will be snuffed out. And because of that, a lot of people just simply use mica powder for their wax melts because you still get that luxurious look, but since there's no flame, there are no wicks to be snuffed out or clogged. You can also find several different colors of mica powders and you can find them on Amazon. I will link my preferred company for you below if you want to check that out. Now, a simple tip that I will give you as a beginner is for you to use the liquid candle dyes. They're much easier to work with, and you can count how many drops you use in your candle wax. This is super convenient when you're making bigger batches, because then you'll be able to measure how much liquid dye you will need for that bigger batch. And something to keep in mind is that the liquid wax is always going to be a little bit darker than the actual hardened wax. So if you made a candle and you added some color into it and thought it looked amazing while it was melted, but it looks a little bit faded when the wax hardened, trust me when I tell you that this is normal. So a quick tip for you to check on the color of the hardened wax is gonna be for you to pour just a little small amount of the wax and letting it cool down so you can see what shade it will be once it's hard. If you need it to be a little bit darker, then you can add more of the candle dye that you've used. But that is it. Those are the 3 different methods that you should be using to add color into your candles. Keep in mind that not every dye is meant specifically for candles. So when you're doing your research, make sure you type in candle dye. This is going to save you a lot of money and wasted wax in the long run. Let me know in the comments below which ones of these methods you've used in your candle making and which one you're going to experiment with moving forward. If you love candle making informative videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for more to come. Until next time, bye.